Ballots in battleground states continue to arrive at boards of election, and votes are still being counted as we speak tonight on this Tuesday 4.0 now.
It is elections week. It really is. We were not expecting North Carolina to count any more votes until next week, but that changed today. Here's a live look from Mecklenburg County, where votes are being tabulated right now. Our Commitment 2020 team coverage begins with our Brandon Bates. He's in the studio, and Brandon, votes are being counted in other North Carolinas as well.
Yeah, that's right. Boards of elections in 6 counties are counting votes tonight. In total, 9 counties in North Carolina are meeting today, and 3 counties met earlier today to count votes. They could add 4,300 ballots to add to the unofficial results for races in our state. We also learned late today, 31,900 eligible ballots arrived at county boards of elections over the past few days. Those envelopes have been scanned. They have not been officially approved by the county board or added to the unofficial results. There are now up to 99,000 outstanding absentee ballots in North Carolina. That is down, if you remember, from 117,000 on Wednesday. There could be far fewer than 99,000 absentee ballots because some people who requested one may have decided to vote in person on Election Day instead. There are also over 40,000 provisional ballots across the state, which will be counted when and if the Board of Elections determines their eligibility. County boards of elections will continue to meet through November 13th to consider additional absentee by-mail ballots that arrive at their offices, and the state board will meet on the 24th to complete its canvass and certify those results. In the studio, Brandon Bates will send it back to you.
Brandon, thank you very much. President is obviously the big one, but there are other races in our state that remain too close to call tonight as well. That includes our big U.S. Senate race, most expensive one in history, our Attorney General's race. This one's still too close to call. We also have a really close race in House District 63, the state legislature in Raleigh. Our team coverage continues now with our Leanne Danier joining us live with a closer look at what we can expect in some of these races. Leanne.
Well, of course, there is a lot of attention on the race for president. What about those races in North Carolina still without a clear winner? North Carolina won't know the state's official pick for president until next week.
The thing to like about North Carolina politics, though, is how competitive it is.
David Holian, a political science expert, says North Carolinians still have a lot to keep an eye on.
I think North Carolina was even more important in the race for the Senate. Where the Democrats were really counting on Cal Cunningham defeating Senator Tillis to get them to 50 and beyond. Obviously, that's unlikely to happen now.
While we wait for word on Cunningham Tillis, we're also still waiting for the final word in several other races in North Carolina, including the Attorney General, Auditor, Labor Commissioner, House District 63, and 2 seats on the North Carolina Supreme Court.
In the best case scenario for Democrats, if most of the absentee mail-ins are returned, and a lot of provisionals are cast and counted, if the Democrats, let's say, win 2/3 of all of those, that's still not enough by a long shot for either Biden or Cunningham to catch up in the presidency and the Senate race. But it's certainly enough to be determinative in the AG race, where Josh Stein has a small lead. It could be determinative and flip things in the Chief Justice race. But, you know, we're just not going to know until next week, when the 12th, the deadline for these ballots to have to come in.
Holian believes when it comes to the 2020 election, many of the things that will be studied by future students are still unknown. But he does believe this waiting period is an indicator of what's to come.
One of the lessons that we need to learn is that there's no longer any such thing as just election night. Right? We have an election campaign, an election season, and people can start voting a month before the election in some states, and votes are accepted as long as they're postmarked in North Carolina, as many as 10 days beyond the election. And, every vote is as valuable as every other vote. One person, one vote. They all have to be counted.
So Holian told me part of what makes studying politics in North Carolina so interesting is just how competitive the state is. He says it usually makes for an interesting election, and 2020 certainly is interesting. In Winston-Salem, Leanne Danier, WXII 12 News.
Leanne, thank you very much. A couple of candidates in Guilford County are separated by literally just 18 votes. Mary Beth Murphy and Jerry Allen Branson are both running for the Board of Commissioners in District 4. Branson told us this morning he has written a letter calling for a recount. He also says there are many more mail-in absentee ballots that still need to be counted.
Joe Biden surpassed President Trump in the vote count in a couple of key states earlier today. He is within striking distance of 270 electoral votes, and that's what it takes to win. Taking a look at the votes separating the candidates in key battleground states, the smallest difference is in Georgia, with just over 4,000 votes giving Biden that lead. Followed by Pennsylvania, Biden leads by about 15,000 votes. Then Nevada, where Biden has a 20,000 vote lead. In Arizona, Biden leads by 36,000 votes. Right now, North Carolina is the only undecided state where the president has maintained his lead over Biden outside of Alaska. Right now, Biden only needs a couple of states to win. He's got 253 electoral college votes, and President Trump trails him at 214. Former Vice President Joe Biden is planning to address the nation tonight from his hometown of Wilmington. President Trump is not expected to speak tonight. We've got Bree Jackson at the White House covering the Trump campaign, but we're going to start off with Sally Kidd covering the Biden campaign from the headquarters in Wilmington.
Joe Biden will be delivering his primetime address on this stage behind me, and we understand he'll be talking about the vote count and where things stand. Biden last spoke publicly yesterday, calling for patience as the votes are counted. Today, he's been laying low, preparing for tonight's speech. Overnight, we saw Biden overtake President Trump in the critical battlegrounds of Pennsylvania and Georgia. A recount is expected in the Peach State. Biden is also holding on to a lead in Arizona and Nevada, giving him several paths to 270. And so the wait continues here at Biden campaign headquarters. The parking lot is going to be filled with cars for a giant watch party tonight when Joe Biden speaks. Reporting from Wilmington, Sally Kidd, WXII 12 News.
Today, President Trump vowed not to give up, even as his chances of winning re-election narrow. Meanwhile, we're seeing the president use his power on Twitter and off to attack the election process. The president trailing Joe Biden as more votes are counted in two must-win states for him, Pennsylvania and Georgia. On Friday, the president doubled down on his efforts to cast doubt on election results. This follows President Trump's unsubstantiated claims about voter fraud made during a news conference Thursday. As workers continue to count an unprecedented amount of mail-in ballots, the campaign is citing election irregularities without providing details. The Republican National Committee is calling for investigations, saying it has deployed legal teams to 4 states, including Michigan.
And that any irregularities that have occurred, whether by malicious intent or incompetence, are fully investigated to the fullest extent allowed under the law.
And the campaign has already mounted legal challenges in several states, and President Trump has promised even more could come. Legal action ranges from demands for better access for campaign observers to allegations of voter fraud. At the White House, I'm Bree Jackson, WXII 12 News.
Bree, Sally, thank you for those reports. Tonight, tune in at 10 for an NBC News election special as we wait for word on who's going to win the presidency. That's going to air in place of Dateline.
North Carolina's First Lady is apologizing over a Facebook post about supporters of President Trump. WRAL reports in a now deleted post, Kristen Cooper admitted she gave the middle finger to families with children holding flags. Those families were a part of a conservative voter rally at the state capitol. In a statement Thursday, Mrs. Cooper says, "My personal Facebook comments and actions leading to it were inappropriate, and I am so sorry. I apologize to anyone I may have hurt, and I ask for forgiveness."
North Carolina continues reporting high day-over-day increases of COVID-19 cases. More than 2,900 people tested positive since yesterday. The positive test rate is 6.9%. Dr. Mandy Cohen says overall cases have been trending up since September 5th, and there is concern about people spending more time inside because of colder weather. The current executive order mandating phase 3 restrictions will expire next week. Governor Cooper says he's going to make an announcement next week about whether that's going to change.
On Monday, kindergartners will be back in the classroom in the Winston-Salem Forsyth County School District for the first time in a long time. More than 2,300 students are expected back in class based on a survey that the district conducted. Another 600 students will keep learning from home. And about 200 families did not respond. Pre-K and EC students returned earlier this week. First graders are set to come back on the 16th, and the Board of Ed is getting together on the 17th to talk about potential return dates for everybody else, grades 2 through 12.
Well, it's